That's weird. Hello, everyone. It is me, Stacy. That's EY. So we had some technical difficulties, which is why I am a minute late. And unfortunately, it is making me do this from my phone instead of my computer, which is what I had set up. So give me 1 second to get my phone propped up to where you all can see me, and then I will get started. I sat and did all of this prep so I could go live, only for it to nut up at the last minute. Ain't that how life does? So, anyway, I'm sorry, y'all. I know that I am kind of shaken off. Okay, there we go. So now you all can see me, hopefully. So anyway, hello. Good afternoon. We're a couple minutes behind because of the technical difficulties, but welcome to my one of four microbursts that I'm doing this February. And the reason that I'm doing this is because number one, February is the month of love, and I love y'all. And number two, because I've been away for so long and I've got a lot of content that I just want to give so that people can start to feel a little bit better about the way this year has already started off. 2024 has decided that it wanted to continue into 2025. So we're going to do a microburst of energy to see if we can revive some of those New Year's resolutions and well wishes for 2025 as we wished everybody a happy new year, including ourselves. So with that being said, the series that I'm doing this month, February, is called People Are Human Too. People are human too. And today's session has a subtitle of Understand Your Assignment. And I did another video last night to help you all understand that what I mean by that is not the holistic picture of your assignment of why you're here on earth and, what has God created me to do. All of that's well and good, but that's just not what I'm talking about today. So, let me first ask you all a question. And that question, and let me say this, housekeeping. I cannot see comments. So I do have Maxine on to help me with comments if there's something that I need to respond to. But especially now that I'm on my phone with this little bitty screen, I can't see comments. So if you're making a comment, I'll try to address it either afterwards in the, responding to your comments and comments, or you can reach out to me directly. At any rate, let's go ahead and get started. My first question to you all is this. Have you ever wondered, taken the time to think about why there are certain experiences in your life that stay with you? It's easy for you to recall them very quickly, very easily. Also, why are there certain experiences that actually change the trajectory of your life? Why is that? Well, that's part of what I'm answering today. When I talk about understand your assignment, what I'm talking about is understanding the meaning that you assign to experiences. Stacy with the EY, what on earth are you talking about? I'm glad you asked. Here it is. I started working when I was 14 years old. That was just a few years ago, long time ago. I was 14. And so I've had many jobs before my last tenure, which I was on that job for 19 years before I early retired. Um, but in all of those jobs, there are certain things that stick out to me from each of those experiences. And one that I talk about all the time. So if you've ever heard me do a keynote, you've probably heard this story before. But there was a time that I was so upset and I had had multiple run-ins with my boss that I waited for her in the parking deck after work. I ain't proud of that, but I did it. And here's the interesting thing. I took the time to assess the risk before waiting for her. I'm going to lose my job. That's a given. I'm probably going to get arrested. Um, but it's just going to be assault, because I don't plan on taking her out. I just plan on taking her down. But I waited for my boss in the parking lot. And so when I take the time to reflect on why I did that, Initially, it was because she did this and she did this and she did that. And every time I tell this story when I'm doing my keynotes, I have the Amen choir who's like, yep, I'm surprised you waited for her in the parking lot. I'd have taken her out right then. Like there's all of these agreements with people who hear the story about why I should have waited for her in the parking lot or why she deserved a beat down. But the reality is that I assigned a meaning to all of those behaviors and experiences that I had with her, which is what made me wait for her in the parking lot. Me waiting for her in the parking lot and the parking deck had nothing to do with her. It had everything to do with me. And now on this side of things, I have come to understand that. So here's food for thought for you. Think of something recently that you have maybe not had as your finest moment, that you can assess and say, what meaning did I assign to that experiences that caused me to step out of pocket, right? I was watching something last night. Um, it was um, on television. Anybody who knows me knows I watch the ID channel all day. I am a crime investigator junkie. I always try to figure it out. So I sit and watch shows where 2020 Dateline, all of those are my shows, 48 hours, all of that. And so I was watching something last night and it was about a story, a particular case, and I'm not going to give the specific details, but it was about a specific case where the investigators made a rash decision of who the person was that was guilty of committing this murder, this robbery and this murder. And they were wrong, 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 wrong. But the person who was accused that served 18 months in jail said that not only did he forgive the people who actually did it, which they still don't know who it is, but he also forgave the investigators, the prosecutor, and everybody else. Now, most people would say that he was well within his right to feel the way he felt if he decided to hate them forever and want them to pay consequences and so forth and so on. But there's something inside of him. There was an assigned meaning that he had for that experience that helped him to handle it the way he handled it. Since this is Black History Month, I am going to give you a snippet of something else that has crossed my mind, and I'm going to do this all the whole month of February as well. Think about Rosa Parks, Mrs. Rosa Parks. Now, for many years, I believed, as I know many of you have, that Rosa Parks was the first person to ever not give up her seat on a bus and be an activist for human rights or the rights of Black people. And that she did it because she was an old lady who was tired. Her feet were tired. She didn't feel like getting up. And she just didn't want to give up her seat to a man because she felt like, as a woman and an older woman, she should not have had to do that. And so she was just willing to suffer the consequences of breaking the law at that time. We were taught that. So for many years, I believed that. But Rosa Parks decided to do an autobiography and tell the real story. First of all, she was not old. She was 42. And as a woman in her 50s, now I can tell you 42 is not old. I wish I still had my body responding like I was 42. But at any rate, I digress. I thought she was single for many years. I didn't know she was married. She was married. And she was a longtime activist. This wasn't new to her. It was true to her. This was what she did. And so what I did growing up with the story that I was taught to believe was I assigned a meaning to that experience that she had, and I applied that meaning to my own life. I watched my mother work for years, and for many years, I would question why certain things would happen on her job and she wouldn't, flex, right? But she was raised during a time where you didn't challenge authority, and she did it in her own way, subtly, but she needed her job. She had kids to take care of, so forth and so on. And so I was raised believing that same thing. However, what I did was when I was in a job situation that wasn't working for me, I would just quit. I wouldn't challenge authority. I would quit. And the few times that I did try to challenge authority and speak up and advocate for myself, I would get fired. I was terminated. So I had to learn through the years how to restructure my beliefs so that I could do those things that actually worked for me. So circling back to the point, which is that we assign meanings to our experiences. And then as we go through life, we continue to hold on to those assignments and we operate from that space, which sometimes is not the healthiest space to be in. We do not operate and respond or react to the here and now of what's happening. When we react or respond, we're doing it based upon the meaning that we assign to a previous experience that was just activated by at least one of our five senses. This feels like something I've been through before. This tastes like something I've tasted before. It sounds like something I've heard before, etc. Right? And so because it has activated or triggered that sense, we then respond to it the same way. So how do we stop doing that? I'm glad you asked me that question. You have to start challenging it, asking yourself when a situation is happening, what meaning am I assigning to this situation? Is it really the same? Am I doing this to protect myself? Is this a security thing that I need to put in place? Is this me trying to establish boundaries or create harmony? Or am I just totally off base and this has nothing to do with something that's happened before and I need to learn to let it go or move through it so that I can have a more positive and productive experience? That's my first point. My second point is that your brain takes the score, but your body keeps the score. Your brain takes the score, but your body actually keeps the score. Well, what do I mean by that? I am a woman of a particular age, as the saying goes. I woke up one morning, February 18th, 2023, to be exact, and my knee just didn't want to knee. For whatever reason, my right knee, my driver's knee, my dominant knee, it just did not feel like kneeing that day. And I didn't realize that I had a torn meniscus. So I went around for a few months with knee pain and sometimes my knee just giving out, so forth and so on. Well, what I didn't realize is that the 5Ks I was doing every month, the Pelofondos I was doing every quarter, the riding the Peloton every day, the HIIT training and all of that, those things, not stretching, not conditioning, my brain was taking the score, but my body was keeping it. And my body was like, hey girl, hey, remember when you, and now you want to try? So I'm not gonna. That's what happens to us as we get older. We go through life thinking that we're indispensable and we can still do things. And I'm short story here. I was talking to my sons some years ago, and I was talking to them about when I was younger and when I used to do gymnastics and how flexible I used to be and how I used to be able to put my leg behind my head. And so my sons, of course, challenged me, Mom, you couldn't do that. You couldn't do this. So I was like, let me show you. Y'all know how that turned out, right? So when I was explaining to the emergency room doctor what I did, and he looked at me like, are you really that foolish? Yeah, because my brain took the score, but my body sure enough kept it. And so we have to realize that as we're getting older and as we are not taking care of our bodies, that things will start to creep up. And so we've got to do better. Part of that is the physical fitness, and the other part of that is nutrition. We've got to start fueling our bodies properly so that we can stay healthier longer. Well, what does that have to do with the topic, which is understand your assignment? I am a chocoholic. I love chocolate. When I'm stressed, I want chocolate. When I'm happy, I want chocolate. When I'm sad, I want chocolate. I am assigning the meaning of chocolate to be that it makes me feel better, even though it's bad for me. And before y'all go in my comments, I don't like dark chocolate. I don't want to hear about dark chocolate. I don't want to hear about how it's healthier. I don't like dark chocolate. I like milk chocolate, even though it's unhealthy for me. But I have assigned a meaning to chocolate. And so right now, after my surgeries, when I am working out and working towards getting this weight back off, I can't eat chocolate like that. So I have to reassign the meaning so that my brain can start taking the score that, oh, it's another day she's stressed out, she didn't eat chocolate. Oh, she's happy, she's not eating chocolate. And then my body can keep the score that, okay, I can still move. Okay, I don't have the sugar rush and then the down. I don't have any of that. So we have to reassign the things that we would normally do to fuel our body or fuel our mind so that we can live a healthier, more productive life, especially as we're getting older. And let's face it, none of us are getting any younger. The third thing that I want to talk about is it's not you, it's them. Again, talking about understanding your assignment. I know for far too long, I would assign meaning to somebody else's actions to the makeup of who I am. Well, every morning I'm coming into the office and I'm saying good morning, but she won't speak to me. So for some reason, she doesn't like me. What did I do? Girl, you ain't do nothing. She just is not a morning person. Or here's one. I had an incident recently where I was walking through the parking lot and I was almost a victim of a crime. And one of the things that I started to do, but I caught myself, but one of the things I started to do was second guess myself. That I should not have parked over where I parked by myself, where there were no other cars and there were no lights, that I should not have gotten out of my car when I saw this man coming towards me and approaching, and I'm steadily giving him the benefit of the doubt that he's not coming after me. Like all of these things went through my head, but then I immediately understood that the meaning of that situation is that we live in a time now where people are growing more and more desperate and crime is running rampant, and it has nothing to do with me. On my job, if I was working towards being promoted and I didn't get promoted, I used to assign that I'm not doing enough. I'm not working enough hours. I'm not running circles around everybody else in getting the job done. But the reality is I was doing everything I needed to do. And if I didn't get a promotion, there were reasons outside of me as to why that promotion didn't happen or why that raise didn't happen. You don't always see the full picture, and we make meaning out of something that doesn't mean what we determine it is in our own head. And that's because of our own experiences, all of the things that I just talked about. If you were looked over for promotions before and there was a specific reason that you were aware of, that experience now has a meaning that you've assigned for every other promotion that you go for that you don't get. So what do you have to do in those instances? Stop blaming yourself. Stop beating yourself up. Stop thinking that you have the sole responsibility for all of the things that happen around you, and start looking at the positive things and the opportunities for learning and growing as a result of that experience. This is something that I have learned to do. Although I'm sitting here talking to you all about this now, I will tell you, I go through this every single day. We've got some situations going on, some family situations going on now that are 100% outside of our control. And instead of getting frustrated and stressed out and eating chocolate, what I'm choosing to do is look at the bigger picture of what it is I'm supposed to be getting from those situations and only doing what I can do. I am here to enjoy life and to live life, not to life through life. And as we get older, most of us, now, if you're this new generation or a millennial, you probably don't think like this as much. But my generation and anyone around my generation was taught that you get a good education, get a good job, stay on that job, working until you retire, and then wait to die. Most of us are working into our late 50s, 60s, 70s, and even 80s nowadays because of the economy and the way the world works, which means that your chance to live and actually live life, all those things that you've worked for, there's less and less time for that, especially when your body is keeping the score that your mind took, right? You end up retiring and in doctor's offices all the time and on different medications. And, maybe, just maybe every now and again, you can take a vacation and relax. But that's not what life is supposed to be about. And so I am on a mission to help people to change that mindset. Start living life. I want to inform, inspire, equip, and untie people to untie those knots, that bondage, that mental bondage that keeps you stuck and stagnant and unable to live life. So you have to reassign the meaning to these assignments of your experiences so that you can live life. That's really what I came out here for. I hope, I hope that you got something out of this. Please comment if you're watching now, if you're watching on the replay, comment and let me know what resonated with you the most out of the three things that I just talked about. And then also share this with other people. You know someone outside of yourself that is struggling with some of these very things that I just talked about. So share this with someone and join me next week. I'm going to be doing this every week in February. Join me next week for the next People Are Human Too Microburst session, where I'm going to be talking about relax, relate, repeat. Y'all thought I was going to say relax, relate, release. You don't release, you repeat. And we're going to talk about that next week. So join me next week. Make sure you share this. Make sure you like this. Make sure you comment. And then take the tools and tips and let me know. I want to hear from you. Let me know if you did the homework that I just assigned you on how to overcome these challenges that I had. If you forgot them, go back and watch it again because I gave you the tips as we went along. Okay, so I said I was going to keep it under 30 minutes, and even though we started late, I did just that. But I want you all to have the most amazing day today. Make it better than yesterday and strive for an even better tomorrow. Why? Well, y'all know why. I always say it because mindset is everything. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you next week. Take care.